Welcome to Bet On It, college football week 8. The time flies when you're having a great time. My name is Kelly Stewart, and I am joined by Marco D'Angelo and Gianni Corrales of WagerTalk.com. You guys, this has been a fun season. I wanted to do a quick recap because I forgot to do so on Monday night. This is our college football and NFL best bet records. They also include a few of the other games. They do not include the teasers, and they include the barking dogs, sandwich game, trap game, steam games. That being said, our best bets have been rocking and rolling. So let's keep the momentum going here into week 8. Marco, Yanni, we've got a big game of sorts, at least a big game worth the names. There wasn't a lot to choose from this week in the big game breakdown, but we do have the USC Trojans headed to South Bend, Indiana to play the Notre Dame Irish. And Irish currently 7-point favorites over on the WagerTalk odds screen. And it looks like 57.5, 58 in regards to the total. Now, before we got started, and I'm actually going to kick it to VR first because I want him to repeat what he said. Just because this is a big game doesn't mean you have to play it. And I think that's how I'm going to be looking at this one.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I say it all the time in MMA too. Like, sure, someone's going to go out there and win the fight, but that doesn't mean it was a bettable fight. Like, a lot of times the number's right. And there's times where neither side is the right side. If you can't grasp that yet, nothing will be more important than understanding that concept that there are spots where neither side is the right side, even though when they play the game, team A or team B is going to win. With all that said, this is one of those games where for me it's a pass because we have two teams that have kind of been underperforming the betting market. I mean, Notre Dame's been winning. You do what you're supposed to, you win games. But in the world I live in, which is laying 11 to win 10, you need to cover games. And they really haven't been doing that. Either the odds makers have done a good job of managing risk on Notre Dame, or they're just, not as good as maybe other 5-1 teams are. With all that said, I just think this number's probably where it should be. The one thing I want to advocate is this is an offense versus defense type of matchup. You're going to find out so much about both teams. If Notre Dame shuts down that USC offense, they're going to cover this game easily. But if USC could score on that Notre Dame defense, they're going to cover the game. I'm not here to guess how the X's and O's are going to match up. I'm here to see if there's value on the betting line. And I just think there's not. Well, the last thing I want to say is whatever you do, if you like the Notre Dame side, don't tease it. Like, don't, if that comes to your mind that I'm going to tease Notre Dame down to where they just have to win the game, nothing could be a worse thing to do. Even if they win the game by 1 to 5 points, you placed a bad bet. Again, if you're in the habit of placing bad bets, you're going to lose money. If we're flipping coins and you give me 2 to 1, you're losing money. You're not going to win my money. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're placing a bad bet if you tease college football, and especially a 6.5 down to a half and thinking all they got to do is win the game. So that's a great teaser. No, it's a terrible teaser and it's a terrible bet. Stay away from those.
Marco, this is that 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific that everybody's going to want to bet it. And I have a feeling you're kind of on the same side here as me and VR. And I hate to disappoint our audience, but tell me what you think about this matchup.
Yeah, like you said, this is a game because it's got the national spotlight. So we're going to give you an opinion on it. The game that, I was texting with Kelly yesterday, telling her what we're looking at here. And it's not as sexy. But, I was talking about the Pittsburgh-Clemson game. As far as big games go for the ACC, that's a big one. Clemson's had a bad year. What I'm going to tell you, though, just give you, VR drops you guys nuggets all week. I throw very sparingly. Do I throw something out? I'm going to throw something out for you on that Pitt-Clemson game before I get to this one. Take a flyer on Kenny Pickett for the Heisman Trophy, okay? Pitt doesn't get a lot of attention. This kid is putting up monster numbers at Pitt this year. Because they fly under the radar, not going to get consideration, except if he has a big game Saturday against this vaunted Clemson defense. This is a fifth-year senior that got an extra year of eligibility because of the COVID rules that gave guys that extra year. And it's really going to help him because his stock, he would have got lost in last year's NFL draft. His stock is skyrocketed. And if he has a big game on Saturday, he's got a shot, an outside shot at a big number of getting in the Heisman talk. So that's my tip for you in that one. For this one, guys, I lean to Notre Dame, and BR touched on it about the defense. If Notre Dame is able to shut down USC's running game and make them one-dimensional, which I think Notre Dame's run defense can do, USC's got problems. I don't like the QB Slovis there for USC if he's got to go one-dimensional and carry the team in this one. 7 points, a lot of points to lay with Notre Dame when you look at some of the games they've had in their margins. Yeah, they had that blowout of Wisconsin, but we've talked about that game numerous times. It was 10-10 heading into the fourth quarter, and then all hell broke loose in the last 5 minutes with pick sixes. This is a team that only beat Virginia Tech by 3, a game that they struggled most of that game. But let's note, that was the game immediately following their loss to Cincinnati. Maybe they were a little flat. Both teams have had 2 weeks to prepare. I'm going to go with Notre Dame, 31-20. But, guys, this is just an opinion on this one, not a strong play. We've got 3 plays that we'll be talking about on the show that I do have that are strong.
You're right, Marco. Sometimes it's better to just pass. But we're not going to pass because my favorite guy is in studio. That's right. TNA is up with Ralph Michaels. There he is, Mr. Ralph Michaels, the king of TNA. We know he loves those trends and angles. Ralph, you don't have a fancy spreadsheet for us this week as far as a graphic goes, but you've dug up 5 really awesome angles. Can you start for me?
Kelly, don't worry. Tune into the NFL segment, guys. We do have a chart. So for those that love to visualize the stats, we've got one for you coming up in the NFL. Well, I wanted to talk about teams off poor offensive performances and teams off very good offensive performances. Kelly, I went back to 2014 and looked at home favorites that scored 9 points or less. It didn't matter if they won. It didn't matter if they've lost. There were over 200 games in that time frame. And listen to this stat. If you are a home favorite that scored 9 points or less your last game, you have covered 62.3%, going 124, 75, and 5 ATS in that situation. 2 teams apply this week: Virginia Tech against Syracuse and Wyoming against New Mexico. As you know, anytime I look at one side of the page, I want to turn and look at the opposite. So what happens when a team scores a great deal of points the previous game? I went back to 2005 for this. And since 2005, when I break down teams that scored 50 points or more, listen to this break. If you scored 50 or more and you were a home favorite with over 700 games, you've covered 44.4%. On the flip side of that, if you scored 50 points or more and you were a home dog, you have covered 59%. An amazing dichotomy between coming off a game where the offense was dynamic and you're a favorite, you covered 44%, or off a 50-plus point game and you were a home dog, you have covered 59%. One team fits the bill this week. It's Georgia State. So this system, Georgia State is a home favorite. So the system says to fade Georgia State and play on Texas State plus the points.
That is great. As you guys can tell, I'm always writing down this stuff from Ralph because I don't have time to go back and rewatch Bet on It. Ralph, what else do you have for us today?
Kelly, we mentioned this last week, and I want to bring it up again because we're going to have many more instances of this occurring the next few weeks as we get into more conference play. And last week, we talked about big home favorites with very low totals. What games last week? We were talking about the Kentucky and Georgia game. So going back to 2013, when teams are a home favorite of 21 or more, and there's a total of 46 or less, those home favorites are 37.7%. That means a dog of 21 points or more with a total of 46 or less has covered 62.3% of the time. Kentucky covered last week. There's one team that applies this week. It is an ugly team. It is a plug your nose game, but it's Rice plus the points against UAB. The fourth thing I want to talk about, teams that have scored 37 or more points 3 straight games. I'm going back the last 15 years. The records have been consistent. Home favorites that are off back-to-back games, scoring 37 or more points, have gone 177 and 133. That's 57%. Now, 57% isn't one of those wow numbers we sometimes have, but I love putting in these systems that are easy for anyone to follow. It's easy for you to look back at the WagerTalk college football logs, see that a team has scored 37 points or more in 3 straight games, and a solid 57%. Guess what? It's Alabama this week. One team applies, Alabama and the Crimson Tide laying the points against Tennessee. And the final thing I want to talk to is over-unders. We don't talk about many college football over-unders, but it doesn't get easier than this, Kelly. And there's nothing you need to pay more attention to than weather now that we're getting into late October and November in college football. How about this? If you have winds of 15 miles or more, that's it. You take every game where there have been winds of 15 miles or more for the last 8 years, they have gone under 58% of the time. It's that simple. Check the weather. Check the weather report. Weather.gov is an incredible source where it gives you a great map. You can check wind speeds. You can check winds gusts. September with winds over 15 miles or more, under 59.7%. October winds 15 miles per hour or more, 56.2%. November winds 15 miles or more, they've gone under 58.8%. And December games with high winds have gone under 61.1% of the time. So we're into that point of the year. Do not bet a college football total without checking out that weather forecast. It seems easy to say. It's amazing how many people I talk to don't spend the time putting in the full work they need to when betting college football totals.
Great stuff from Ralph. I kind of had a feeling December was going to be the highest one because not only is it windy, it is cold and windy. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, it's time for some barking dogs.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in WagerBucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.
In a business that's what have you done for me lately, Marco has pretty much done it all. The NBA starts this week, and Marco was the number 3 NBA handicapper last year, hitting 60% for the season with a 63-42 record, netting his clients 56 units of profit. Marco is also currently the number 1 football handicapper in 2021, hitting 64% with a 61-34 record, netting his clients 87 units of profit to go along with being number 4 in baseball this year, hitting 57% with a 139-1-4 record, netting his clients 45 units of profit. Don't miss a single winner this NBA season from Marco by jumping on board his NBA full season package. This package is $6.99, but if you sign up this week, it's just $5.49, saving you $250 when using coupon code MarcoNBA when checking out.
Welcome back to Bet On It, where the dogs have been barking all season long. This has been one of the better college football seasons for those underdogs, so we're going to keep it rolling here. Marco, who is your barking dog for Week 8 in college football?
All right, Kelly, looking at this week, I'm going to go against the team that's been very good to me this season, and that is Texas San Antonio. We've rode them several times this year, but this isn't the week to ride them. They're a favorite on the road. We've had them so many times as underdogs, and not only did they cover as an underdog, they gave us some money line sprinkle outright wins. And here, they're on the favorite on the road. They're now carrying a top 25 ranking. That's extra weight to go along with that point spread on the road. So we're going to go ahead and look at the live underdog, Louisiana Tech. And I know you're going to point out, my God, Marco, what are you smoking? Louisiana Tech last week got beat 19-3 by Texas El Paso. They could only put up 3 points against Texas El Paso. What makes me think they have any shot in this one? Well, I'll tell you what, they were coming off NC State the week before. You get a team that gets to play a Power 5 school, from one of the non-Power 5 conferences. They went in there as a big underdog, 18.5 point underdog, and only lost by 7 points. They were flat. They were looking past Texas El Paso to this game with the Roadrunners coming in, Texas San Antonio. I think they're a live home dog. I think this is going to be one of those shootouts. We've seen Texas San Antonio this year be in 52-46 games, 37-30 games. I think it's going to be one of those type of games. Comes down to the end. Field goal decides it. I'll go ahead and take Louisiana Tech 31-30. Give me those 7 points as the barking dog.
This week's dogs have been a little harder for me. I feel like I've been seeing them so clearly, and this week's a little off. So maybe I'll add Louisiana Tech to my long list. Thank you, Marco. The king of the sprinkle. That's right. The original Salt Bay VR himself. Who do you think has a shot to win outright this weekend?
Yeah, I got to bring up some winners, or else I'm holding us back, I think, over our goal to win on the show. So people are going to stop believing I'm able to pick a winner. So I got a dog for us. Why do I need a nicer background? Every time I look like I'm in the space station. We're real far away. Yeah, I got a nice blue back there.
But VR, it's okay because I look like those like Life Touch photos when you're in 5th grade and they have the really cool.
I love it. Yeah, the glamour shots, baby, at the mall. I'm all over it. You look beautiful. I need one of those. Let's go to the high-profile game of the week that me and Marco were talking about, but instead he chose USC Notre Dame. That's Temple, South Florida. Listen, I love Temple in this spot. They're a live dog. It's not a big dog, and it qualifies as a steam play. I'll tell you this, disclosure. I have not released it to subscribers yet because, like I said, I'm staying very selective. I only released 2 plays so far for Saturday's college football, but I can tell you with certainty that I have Temple. I bet Temple. But like I told you, I provide accounts for groups that win, and they took Temple at +3.5 and +3. So that's where I got my bet down. Now I have to conclude and decide whether there's still value and it's plus EV. I think it is. And I'll probably get to the window for subscribers before Saturday. I'm just seeing if maybe it gets back to 3 in case some South Florida money comes in because they're at home. And at least it appears like Temple's just not that good of a team anyway. They got blown out by 49 points last week. With all that said, they're just a better team here. That's what all the metrics show. South Florida is as bad as their record reflects. And offensively, defensively, just one of the worst teams in all of college football. On the defensive side of the ball, they're 125th in yards per play. Temple's going to be able to move the ball on them, something they've had some trouble against better defenses. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Temple, believe it or not, is 48th in all of college football in yards per play. Pretty good considering where they stand. And fortunately, where's South Florida? They're not even in the top 100 on the offensive side of the ball. I'm telling you now, they're as bad as their record reflects. And just because they're home doesn't matter. Temple's the better team. This probably should be favored in this spot. But I like value. And again, the goal is to get the best of it and find the most highest ROI spot for your money. I'm not out to just place a bet and hope it wins. I need to conclude it was a good bet and not worry about whether it wins or loses. I know if I do that long term, results are going to take care of themselves. Again, markets are going to always reward the patient if you have an edge. So for me, that's why I've held off yet on confirming it as a premium. But I was confident enough to use it for the show where I need a winner. We'll go Temple plus 2.5.
All right, VR, before you got into your barking dog, you mentioned the steam, and that's what you're here for, is to bring us that steam plus a little bit of gold every week. Care sharing your week 8 steam play of the week?
All right. We are going to San Diego State and Air Force. Yes, that's the game I chose. Because you got to remember, listen, hear me out. Whether it's a best bet, whether it's a steam play, whether it's a barking dog, I'm betting them the same size. Like, even when you see now, obviously you see a 3% play, 4% play, 5% play, there is an increase in bet size, but it shouldn't be so significant. And number one, if you're betting 4%, 5% per play, you're going to get in trouble. You don't have that kind of edge long term. You're going to lose money. That's just the math. It's not me. Like, again, don't get mad at me. If you don't like facts, that's a different story. But when it's the math playing it out, kind of like the teasers, we know what the math is. In blackjack, we know what the math is. Like, you can't argue some things. And getting back to the San Diego State side, listen, Air Force played a big game last week, and they came through for a lot of bettors. They've been rolling and coming through. And I know the narrative is how difficult it is to prepare for this Air Force team. I don't think San Diego State's going to have any problems with them. It's nothing they haven't seen before. It's not like they haven't faced. It's been 2 years, I think, 2 or 3 seasons since they faced Air Force, but it's not an offense they're not accustomed to. San Diego State's much the better team. We took the points with San Diego State. I think it's a good spot for them. Still 3.5. Just don't get it. If it drops down to 3, again, you don't want to wait. If you agree with me, you probably want to bet it now. If you disagree, you may want to wait because they'll probably get to 3. I see more sharp money coming in on the San Diego State side before Saturday.
Yeah, VR, we're already starting to see 3. So by the time this show is live on YouTube, we may already be there. Marco, the deli might be closed in the NFL, but a little birdie told me he's open for business in college football.
Yes, we are, Kelly. The deli is open college football. When we do the NFL show, we'll talk about the health department and what happened to us last week. But this week here, we're in good shape in college, and we've got a small puppy that I like a lot. You talk about a sandwich spot. Let's take a look at Utah, and that's who we're going to be fading in this game. And it's all about fading Utah. They're coming off 2 monster games in a row. 2 weeks ago, they played USC. They went on the road. We had Utah in that game, and they beat up on the Trojans in the Coliseum. Now they come back last week at home, another big game. Maybe not as sexy name-wise last week when they played Arizona State, but as far as the standings went, that game is going to go a long way in determining who wins that side of the Pac-12. It was a big win for them. And, who do they have up on deck? UCLA next at home. Well, when you've got a 4-game stretch where 3 of the games are USC, Arizona State, and then UCLA, I'm sorry. Oregon State's the, redheaded stepchild of those 4. They're going to look past that team. And Oregon State, I know they lost last week, but they had won 4 in a row prior to that. In the week before that, they beat Washington. They beat USC at USC. Been 2 big wins over Hawaii and Idaho, which really doesn't matter. Those teams aren't very good. But I look for them to bounce back. I think they got caught feeling a little fat and sassy last week after the Washington win and the USC win. We'll see the Beavers this week run down the throats of Utah. This team likes to run the football. They're going to run it probably 50 times in this game, and they've put up 300 yards in 2 of the last 3 games, and that was against Washington State and Southern Cal. They put up 250 against Washington. I'll take the Beavers, Oregon State, +3, and we're calling the outright win, 28-23, Oregon State.
Ooh, Marco knows how good those Beavers have been to me this year. Gonna have to take a closer look at that one. And of course, he threw in that fat and sassy for his favorite show viewer, Johnny. We're gonna take our quick commercial break. When we come back, it's time for Best Bets.
Sign up for the free WagerTalk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It's your favorite time of the show. Why? Because we're giving out our best bets. I'm going to try to keep it rolling here and see if we can't cash ourselves another one. And for the first time on the show this year in college football, I'm going to take a little baby favorite, and that is the UCLA Bruins -2.5. Now, this one has dropped down from 3, so I had to look a little bit harder. And that's because the whole world loves the Oregon Ducks. And why wouldn't you? It's the Oregon Ducks, this prolific offense. Well, this Oregon Ducks team really has not been impressive since their win at Ohio State. In fact, that's the last time they covered. This is a really solid Bruins team here. I'm going to lay the points here with the Bruins in a situation where I think they win this game by a touchdown. Marco, tell me who your best bet is for this week in college football.
Well, Kelly, before I get to my best bet, first of all, kudos to you. You have been absolutely killing it with your best bets this year. And also, while you were giving your play, I was on the phone. I called 911. Paramedics are on the way because something is definitely wrong. You took a favorite. I'm worried about you. I want them to do a health check. So just stay put. They're on their way.
Marco, I took a favorite last week in Baylor. I took Baylor. I tweeted it out. Listen, I'll take a favorite every once in a while, but man, I love this play this week. The dogs have been barking really well for me, but it's time to turn over a new leaf. You need a little chalk.
Hey, diversity. We like that. Get those horizons, broadened for you. For me, I am going to a small favorite myself this week, and this is a continuation, part 2 from last week. We all 3 of us on this show do many other shows. And I can tell you last week, there was not a single show that I did not give out Purdue against Iowa last week. It was the perfect sandwich spot going against Iowa coming off that Penn State game. Well, now it's our turn for Purdue to get a taste of their own medicine. They were the team that went in there and knocked off Iowa, who was sitting all fat and sassy after that big win. Yeah, there's another fat and sassy for Johnny out there. I'm going to look at this Wisconsin team. Purdue, they have to be sky high after they knocked off number 2 Iowa. But a couple of things to point out, and it was one of the parts of the edge in that play last week. They had 2 weeks to prepare for Iowa, and they caught Iowa at the perfect time. They don't have 2 weeks to prepare for Wisconsin. They know what's coming. They're going to have to stop that brilliant running game of Wisconsin. Wisconsin's going to run it down their throats 45, 50 times. And if you're not got your head turned on straight after that big win, and you got to sit here and make all of those stops at the line of scrimmage, you're going to get wore out. And I think Wisconsin, although they're sitting at 3-3, they got to that magical 500 mark last week. Now they can build on that. And let's be honest. At the time, and I was one of them that bashed Wisconsin for those early season losses. How bad does those losses look now? The first one was to Penn State, 16-10, first game of the season. They shot themselves in the foot in that game. 3 turnovers. They were minus 3 turnovers in that game. Then they lost. They got blown out by Notre Dame. And that's when we really dropped the stock on Wisconsin. But we've talked about it how many times? It was a 10-10 game entering the fourth quarter. And then the other loss was to Michigan. Yeah, they got blown out, but Michigan has done everything right all year long. So maybe those 3 losses aren't quite as bad as we thought they were. I think Wisconsin rolls this Saturday. I'm going to lay the 3. We're calling it Wisconsin 27-17.
Marco, I'm with you. I am too on the Wisconsin Badgers, and it makes me a little apprehensive, but I love betting against those ranked teams catching points. VR, who is your best bet for this week?
All right, it was going to come down, I said, between Temple and Nevada, and I'm going with Nevada because the number's still available. In fact, there's even 3.5 at Pinnacle and DraftKings, but I think it's minus 115 or 120. So you might want to sit back. 3.5s may pop up elsewhere. A lot of skins copy those. And bottom line is this. Nevada's got that offense to stay in games. And that's the kind of team I want to back as an underdog, especially when the metrics are favorable, except where I think they're misleading. And here's what I mean. Like on the Fresno side of the football, I think a lot of the defensive metrics are a little misleading. If you look at their strength of schedule, 3 of the 6 games, they were double-digit favorites. You got to wait for that. So I'm not all that worried that Nevada won't be able to score against them. And the fact that the total got steamed over 61, 61.5, 62, 62.5 from betting syndicates, and that's why now you're looking at 65 and 65.5, kind of supports my thesis that you're going to have success scoring. I don't think they just expect it to be one-sided, Fresno to put up 50 on their own. So I love that, number one. We talk about it all the time. If I want a dog, I want the back door to be open. I want that 60 minutes of effort and the ability to win a football game. And all of those check mark in this spot for Nevada. It's a very winnable game for them. And the fact they're catching points tells me I'm getting the best of it. Confident, also confirmation that sharp money agrees with me. These are all the things that I look for. Again, the more confirmations, the stronger the selection, the stronger the bet, the more I'm willing to make a trade my dollars for that wager. Otherwise, I'm not gambling. I'm not trying to predict outcomes. I'm not trying to get lucky. I know I have an edge. I know long-term that edge is going to play out, and year after year, I'll be profitable. So don't make it harder than it needs to be. In this spot, I think we're getting the best of it with Nevada +3. And hopefully they go out there and randomness doesn't throw a wrench into the mix and we get the W or at least the cover. Let's go Nevada.
Great stuff from my 2 favorite guys. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, it's time for the recap.
Thousands of you enjoyed the NHL opening week $9 special, so it's only fair that we offer the NBA fans the same deal. Every NBA daily package for the opening week through Monday, October 25th is just $9. That's right, you will not be paying $25 for a package, nor will you be paying $35 for 5% best bets for the opening week of the NBA, as all daily basketball packages are only $9. Make sure to tune in every Monday through Friday for the NBA tip-off show on WagerTalk TV, and then save and start the NBA season with a slam dunk deal.
Welcome back to Bet On It. Now, I want to bring the leprechaun in, but you guys haven't been doing the best job at smashing that like button, retweeting the show, jumping in the comments. So I'm going to need a little bit more from you this week. I'm going to let VR come on at the end for all of you jackasses that scrolled to the end and get the gold. But I'm going to bury it so deep in the NFL show, you're going to actually have to sit back and watch the whole thing. VR, what have you got for us this week?
And if you see in the NFL show, honestly, like I told you, I'm being very selective. I only gave out for golf this week. I narrowed it down to 2 European and 2 of the PGA Tour of the strongest matchups. And I think 2 or 3 are dogs. You're going to want to get involved on that one. I'm going to share some college football right now. And don't forget, buy Bitcoin before it's too late. I can't stop saying that enough. That money you were going to bet on USC and Notre Dame, that teaser you were going to place, that foolish teaser in college football, that bet you were going to buy points on, that you were going to throw money away, that you were going to gamble, just go buy some Bitcoin or MicroStrategy. That's still so underpriced. All right, let's go to it. And don't be afraid of retracements. That's what winning things do. Winning assets, winning sports bettors, you have to have a retracement. Nothing goes up in a straight line or it's phony. There's something fake. They're lying. That's how they figured out Madoff was stealing, because he just kept winning, and you can't do that. The math is just against you, fellas and ladies out there. So here's some gold in college football. Let's start off tonight. Oh, nah, that'll be too late. Let's start off Thursday. Louisiana minus 16.5. Saturday, Michigan minus 22. They didn't fire a lot. I gave you my Temple, 367, Miami, Ohio, +6. 387, Tennessee, +25. 389, South Carolina, +21. I gave you San Diego State. I gave you Nevada, and I gave you the over 62. We went up to 62.5. Up to 63 was the last move. The final group bet 63 on Nevada, Fresno State. So use that as you wish.
Thank you, VR, for all of that gold. Now let's break down what everybody played for this week in college football. Big game breakdown, not such a big game, but everybody kind of leans towards the Irish here, but none of us will be getting involved. The dogs are still barking. Marco says Louisiana Tech is a live dog. And VR says, while it's a Chihuahua, Temple +2.5 is going to win that game outright. The steam game of the week is
Rocky's
San Diego.
a Chihuahua.
Yes, he is. San Diego State +3.5 is the steam game this week. The deli is open in college football, and Marco says those beavers are mighty tasty. I don't know if I'll ever eat a beaver sandwich, but we'll probably have to pass on that one. Best bet, UCLA -2 for me. Marco almost had a heart attack when I gave out a favorite. VR says Nevada is the best bet. Speaking of favorites, Wisconsin -3. Marco and I are in lockstep once again. Let's have a great week, guys. We are on to the NFL show. Make sure you head over to the WagerTalk YouTube channel and watch that one so you get more barking dogs. You get more gold, more steam games. Maybe the deli didn't get condemned last week after Marco's Lions play. You're going to have to go over to that channel and give our show a watch. Until next week, let's bet on it.